So who doesn't love fall? I certainly do. And it's the colors, I think. Well, I can also kind of kick back and relax in the garden and not feel compelled to be planting all the time. But I can take advantage of the cool days, well, let's just say cooler days, and certainly cooler nights, and what that brings forth in the garden. So I tend to think of food this time of year, but some of the flowers are amazing, and mums have kind of become the symbol of fall, besides, of course, falling leaves. But in terms of plants and flowers, it tends to be the mum. But there are other plants we really ought to consider, and there's one that is very special, and it grows through the entire season with a lot of reasons for you to grow it, and then here in the fall, it puts on amazing flowers. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank our sponsors. The Garden Home Vlog is made possible by Gilbert H. Wild & Son, who've been growing beautiful perennials since 1885. Ralston Family Farms, a farm family producing delicious rice for your table. First Community Bank, whose heart is in the community, as well as Sunpatiens, SuperCal Petunias, and Dragon's Breath Celosia, and Crystal Bridges, Museum of American Art. Check out my website to learn more about the brands we love. If you know me, you know I'm always looking for flowers that give great value. Well, plants in general that give great value. And so what I want to do is introduce you to, well, one that I think that really ought to be in every garden. It's this marvelous Celosia, okay? It's akin to the coxcomb that we all know. Our grandmothers, great-grandmothers grew it. But this one is fantastic. Grows from seed. You can start with small plants. That's what we did here. And it's really kind of a cross between, in a way, like the mum that blooms in the fall or late and blooms for a long time, and a coleus in that you get this beautiful foliage. So what's wonderful about this particular Celosia called Dragon's Breath, because of, well, the red foliage and these amazing plumes of flowers that are coming off of it. These, you get the leaf color and you get the flower. This is a plant that will take the heat, western sun here, and you can see this narrow bed is full and robust with lots of bloomers, plenty of pollinators here. I've got it planted here between some coleus, so you can see that color power, if you will, that vivid quality is just as strong here as it is with this more rust-colored coleus, as well as the vivid chartreuse one in the back. I think they make great companions, particularly in a border like this where we've got lots of things going on. And that's the whole idea. This is our vegetable garden, and we like to invite the pollinators in, and they love beautiful flowers like this. The other thing about this Celosia, this Dragon's Breath, is that it makes a wonderful cut flower. And a lot of people are reluctant to cut the blooms of them, but if you'll notice that coming off of this red stem, look at all of these shoots. So I'm not going to lose any flowers. In fact, this thing is going to continue to produce these beautiful flowers, and the plumes will get much larger over time throughout the fall season. So that's another reason to grow Dragon's Breath. Another thing that I really like about this plant is that not only does it perform well in the bed, as you can see here with all these companions, it's also a great container plant. I mean, you talk about dramatic as a single plant in a large container, and it looks great all summer long and just keeps getting better through the fall. So it really does give the mum a run for its money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather some of this and a few other things here in the garden. What I like to do, I like to cut flowers early in the morning. They hold up better, get them immediately into water. I'm going to gather a few other things here and put together a very garden-esque arrangement, fit for fall, but probably in a little more surprising color theme than you might guess. Who doesn't love color, particularly in the fall? And there's so much to gather from the garden. So I've brought in all these things. We have that beautiful Dragon's Breath Celosia here, and I'm just wrapping up this arrangement. And what I'd like to do is kind of walk you through some of the flowers. You can see what I mean by this Celosia and how it really pops in the arrangement. I love this bright, hot pink along with the oranges and so forth that we typically associate with fall. But what do you think? It's coming along very nicely. This is a unique approach where we actually create a skirt, if you will, along the edge with the miscanthus grass here, which is a very easy perennial to grow. So I just built that around first and then began to fill in with just a little bit of the loropetalum. You can see here just some of the foliage, and then just packed it in with lots of things that I gathered out of the garden. We can start back here with the zinnias. You can see there's purple, reds, orange, and so forth, and then these wonderful marigolds, these large orange marigolds really make it pop. And then what I did is I came in, once I created this sort of dome of flowers, I've added in what I call kind of some radicals. These are some of these grasses that we just gathered out in the pasture, in the meadows here at Moss Mountain Farm. You can gather these from the roadside, but they're just absolutely beautiful, and you can see they add that really autumnal touch to the arrangement. So the plan here is to do a pair of these. I like to pair them up, and let me just show you some of the basic armature that I've used. But first, let's just complete our walk through the flowers. Then I added just a little bit of dried material that I keep. Some of these things you can buy at a hobby store. And then that's basically it. The key, I think, here is to give it a wildness by using some of these grasses and so forth. That really sets the stage for the season. What I've done here, you'll see there's a ceramic bowl that I've placed this in, and I've got another ceramic bowl that matches it. So this is the pair I'm talking about. And rather than using standard floral foam, you can use these cages, and they're much more environmentally friendly. And so what I have is a cage in this one, which gets taped down. And then what we would start with is just the skirting, if you will, with this miscanthus grass. And I'll just go around the edge of this, and I'll just place them and go all the way around 360 degrees around this, and that gives you this sort of grass skirt, if you will. And then from there, I just begin to build it out, as I mentioned, with some of the foliage plants, and then packing in the flowers, where the flowers literally sort of touch one to the other, mixing the zinnias, and then adding these spiky Dragon's Breath Celosia kind of coming out of the top, and then just a few ethereal cosmos, and then the grasses. Now, a lot of people think that because you've cut flowers, you don't have to feed them, but I've actually found that these nutritional supplements that you can buy and add to the water really keep the flowers lasting maybe 2 or 3 days longer. The other thing to keep in mind is you want to keep them out of full sun, and the cooler these can stay, the better, and they'll last much longer. My goal is to create a pair of these where we can sit out on the table here on the porch for guests who will be arriving later this evening. Hope this has been helpful to you. If you like what you've seen, like the show. And if you hadn't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. And if you'd like notifications, just ring that bell. And also follow me by just going to my website, pallensmith.com, and click on the newsletter, and each week we'll send you a newsletter about all the things that are going on at Moss Mountain Farm and so forth. All right, until next time, happy gardening.